Well, good evening or good morning, wherever you are at. It is MOTUESDAY, and so welcome to Go Figure. And there are 7.8 billion people in the world. And in our lifetimes, we will meet about 80,000 people. And of those 80,000, about 700 we have intimate relationship with. And of those 700, very few are we call true friends. And I like to say, I'm glad and honored to call my co-hosts true friends. My man, Phil, and my man, Zazel from down in Australia. How are you guys doing this morning?
Oh, mate, I couldn't possibly be any better after that intro.
Right?
Wow.
So
very nice.
That's right. Great there. But also, there's a saying out there that you never want to meet your heroes because they will disappoint you. And I would say that is not true, because I've met my hero on YouTube, Mr. Toy Polloi himself, right there. Dave, how are you doing this morning or evening where you are?
It's morning, and prepare for disappointment. I'm just a normal chap, as I keep saying to everybody. Hello.
You can never be disappointed by a normal chap.
Yeah,
that is the very definition of not being disappointed.
Exactly. So we are here.
Welcome to MOTUESDAY, Dave.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be on.
Well, imagine we had a guest who's like, I'm here begrudgingly. Just wouldn't stop messaging me, so fine, let's do this. That's right. So are you guys all doing well? You've had a good Easter weekend, or?
I'm keen as a bean. I got my MOTU cup.
Very good.
I've got the two best in the business on YouTube above me today to do with toy restorations. When I think about toy restorations, I think these two guys, these two right here. I can't believe I'm in the same room. Well, not really, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. And I'm not just fooling either. This is for real and for true. These two guys, and Phil will agree with me, these two guys right here are the guys we watch if we want to figure out what is behind the fur on a grizzlaw, which I never knew I needed to see. But now that I've seen it, I'm like both a little disappointed, but also very amused by how he really looks under there. And, you know,
that's the show, folks. Have a great day.
Hey, guys.
I think Mattel would have been good if they would have put like hilarious like boxer shorts with hearts on them under Grizzly's fur. So that, you know, when Dave pulls back that fur, he's like, "Oh, look at that!"
It would have been good if there was a little message there. Do you know what? If I was making those figures in a factory, I would have started writing things underneath each one, so that you just open it up and it'd be like, you know, just a little message or a little smiley face or something. I've seen that in some toys when you open them up and there's just someone's written something inside it. It's like just weird.
Like pervert when you undress a grizzlaw.
Have you seen the photos from like the dollar store or the pound shop unicorns? And when they crack them open, the tail is actually another doll's head in there.
Yes.
Oh yes, yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
That's genius. Whoever thought of that, I'm like, this person gets it. So.
Yeah, it's just great use. They've obviously overstocked on doll heads, and it's like, well, what can we do with these? Yeah, tails. Perfect example.
Yeah, no, that was my favorite thing I've seen in a long time. So let's quickly just say hello to the chat because people are here and we love that. So there's the man himself, Joe Ricondo. Oh. Yeah, and don't forget about the He Skeletor drop today. For those of you that love the Origins line, the He Skeletor drop today.
Well, it's dropping. It's a few hours from now. Right. So for me, it'll be 2 a.m. I think if I want to stay up and try and get a He Skeletor. How bad do you want one,
You're
Phil?
setting your alarm, Basil? You're setting your alarm?
Either that or I just won't go to sleep. It's like there's no point going to sleep, right? I'll stay up and wait for He Skeletor.
So are both of you guys going down the He Skeletor route?
Well, I didn't know if I wanted to.
If Zazel puts in the hard yards and stays up till 2 a.m., I'll get him to grab me one too if he can.
So if I do the work, he'll reap the reward. All right, Phil, I'll stay up for you, buddy. You're worth it. You're worth it.
Oh, there we go.
All right. So then we also have the Retro Tinker is in the chat. Happy MOTUESDAY. Let's do this. Retro. That guy is just a straight up beaut.
Oh, yeah.
And then we've got Go Figure and Sergeant Slaughterhouse and Treasures for Triggers in the chat doing double duty. But we also got Chat Legend Classified.
Ooh, upgraded to Legend.
Yeah, look at this. You don't come around
Classified.
every MOTUSDAY. I think Classified's been in every MOTUSDAY. Oh, and over from the UK, we've got Action Pop Dad. Hello there.
Hey Nick, nice to see you.
Hey, Action Pop Dad. Hello.
Yeah. When he started his channel, he messaged me. He's like, "Hey, here's some." Yeah, he just reached out, and he's a very, very, very cool guy.
He is. He's
Nice.
I've met up with him quite a few times. He's a good friend of mine. He doesn't live hugely far away from me, so I've been helping him set up his channel, doing some idents and stuff for him. But generally,
you did his logo, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I did. He sort of said he wanted to start up a channel, and often the hardest part of doing something like that is getting a look and a feel for it. So he sent me some ideas, and I said, yeah, that's fine. I'll just make something for you. So yeah, it's always nice to try and help out people starting out on YouTube, because I think, as you all know, starting out on YouTube can be quite daunting and disappointing in equal measure. So yeah, it's always good to try and help people start up. You know
who doesn't help you on YouTube? YouTube.
Yeah. Massively. They go out of their way to make doing videos hard work and getting an audience hard work. So you have to rely on other people helping you in other channels. So I try as best as I can to help other channels. Yeah, no, I reached out to Dave when I was doing one of my first videos, my He-Man power harness video. I had no reference picture of a good harness, so I just sent out Dave a message, and like an hour later, he's like, "I'm sorry, these are the best pictures I could have." Like, and it was great. It was perfect. So that was great. And we've got Werewolf by Lunchtime is here. He's from Perth, Australia, so just around Zazel's corner there.
G'day, buddy.
Duel Who 9. They've perfected it after 8.
Yeah, don't worry about the first 8. 9's where it's at.
Exactly. And again, this is a massive thanks to Dave for all the help, as frankly, I'm useless. Well, I don't know if you're useless, but Dave is a lot of help. That's one thing for sure. So, yes, we talked about all things MOTU this morning, and we had Dave. I reached out to Dave on Toy Polloi because he, I think we all have. So Zazel, you are on your road to having 777 Sergeant Slaughter figures.
True, that is true, sir. Correct.
So you've got this big collection of one kind of figure.
Long road.
Yeah, I'm in the high 400s, and these are just. I've only counted the ones that are GI Joe specific. So the first 4 official releases, and then international variants that came out after the fact, or sometimes during. Actually, I suppose some of them were done. Years are sketchy, but if I were to count the other ones, like maybe if I were to count this guy, we don't count this one. If I was to count this guy, then I might be looking at closer to the 500-ishes.
All right. So
I don't know.
But there's one figure you collect. I oftentimes have I'm very clear that I can very rarely leave a broken and lonely Brave Star or Dick Tracy behind. I feel like those guys need lots of love, and you can always see them just cheap in those bins, and like you can't leave them there. So I have a big collection of like Dick Tracy figures, just not just him, just the yellow hats, right. And Marshall Brave Star has become one of my favorite toys to restore and to customize. And I also have in my mind I have a decent Skeletor collection. You can see here,
beautiful.
It's but then when you see Dave over at Toy Polloi and his army, which just dwarfs mine.
Whoa, wait.
Look at this Skeletor plethora.
When I saw this, I called it the Skelehorde.
It's quite a lot. And you know what I said to Adam? This photo is a few months old. There's probably another 10 since then, because I just keep finding them. I've set myself a rule that if they're £3 or under, I'll buy them. And I just keep finding them for £3. Most these days you don't get the armor with them for £3, but if I see them for £3, I will pick it up. And because I think I've got another Laserlight Skeletor since then. I got another kit from Barbarossa Customs, which I made a sort of slightly different version of. I've also got a.
Here, let me bring that up for you, because your these laser light Skeletors are like the
Wow.
holy grail of Skeletors.
Wow.
Yeah, you got 3 of them. Far out.
I've got another one now because Barbarossa Customs did one that made him look more like the New Adventures version of He-Man. So it's got a New Adventures head on him and a different arm. So I did that one, and I had enough spares to put together another one, which I've done with a different paint scheme. So I've only got one original laser light now. I had 2, and I gave one to a friend of mine who is a massive He-Man collector and didn't have one, so I gave him one. So I've got one original, and the other 3 are sort of built out of kits. And
Can I just say, in 2023, in the adult collecting world, where it's it can get a little bit ego-y sometimes, to hear Dave say, I had this holy grail, a Skeletor figure, and that chap needed one, so I just gave it to him. It like gives you a little bit of hope for the world. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, this is okay.
I think you could be. I think you could be greedy with this sort of stuff, and these are Grail figures. And my friend is a way bigger He-Man collector than I am. He absolutely loves it, and it seemed rude for me to keep this other one. To be honest, I'd been given them. I've been sent a bag of broken Skeletors, and so there were the remains of 2 laser light Skeletors in there. So I'd been gifted them myself, and so I didn't want to. I don't want to keep everything. It's nice to have one of them, but it's nice to pass on the joy of these toys to other people. So
and I bet you they're slightly more common in Europe than they are in North America.
Yeah, I think they are. The guy who sent them to me is I'm going to say German. I can't remember where he is now. I've forgotten where he was. I think he's in Germany, but they were certainly released much more in Italy and places like that. So they were much more common.
Right.
For
handsome man, right?
Yeah,
no, they're good. They're good figures. Oh yeah, I can actually grab my.
Okay,
this is another one that this is just
nice.
a slightly different paint scheme, because I wanted to add sort of. He's got so many details on the figure himself, so I did a slightly different paint scheme with more silver highlights and a slightly better face shape paint. So it's more like traditional Skeletor face shape.
Right.
Because the laser light Skeletor face is just sort of a bit of a wash of colors. It doesn't really look like much. So this is a sort of custom paint scheme version of him.
He looks brilliant.
I think he should work. There you go. He does work.
Oh, nice.
So,
Nice.
yeah, there he's in all his glory. So, but that's a kit version. So it's not an original. That's from Barbarossa Customs. He made some really good kits. I don't think he does them anymore, which is a shame because they are very nice. And if you like toys, building a toy that you like from pieces and painting it up is really good fun. It's the sort of thing I wish they did it with Star Wars figures. You could just buy bits of Star Wars figures or something like that and build them. I would have so much fun building toys.
So I've actually with the 3D printing have been able to print off pieces and build whole figures in the 3D world, and so that has become I need to be careful because I'm like that. My collection just quickly become only figures that I.
But it's very therapeutic. It's like building a Lego kit or something like that. Building it up, but actually building a toy action figure and painting it and sort of getting all the details on, because you can then get like the best action figure ever because you can paint it exactly how you want, and it's a very therapeutic thing to do.
Much like your laser light Skeletor. So I recently printed, built, and painted a Bengali Thundercats figure, which is the rare Thundercats figure you're never gonna find in the wild for 3 pounds with no armor. So I was like, I'll just do this, and it looked so good. Put it on your shelf, and I'm like, I have no need to go and spend big money on a real one now, because like this is a better one in my mind because I made it.
Yeah, I think, but that's the whole thing I get from toys is if I buy a toy and stick it on the shelf, I generally find that quite boring. But if I buy a toy and have to repair it or do something to it, I get much more of a connection to it. It just becomes much more. I don't know, just. I just feel more towards that toy, no matter what it is, even if it's something I've had no interest in to start with. Once I've sort of played with it, in inverted commas, but sort of fix it up, I have much more of a connection to it. And
we have friends.
Something about it.
We have friends that are constantly rescuing dogs, and they're like, all of our dogs are rescues. I was like, all of my toys are rescues as well. We all needed some help, and I'm okay with that. I love just like you. I love my collection to be a collection, but also every piece has a story.
That's the thing. It's all about that. It's all about the the whys and wherefores of how you got it. You know, some toys I've got in my collection are things I just remember having as a kid, and it's those connections, that connection to playing with it as a child and sort of enjoying it, that you know, meant I had to have another one, because I've still got that connection to it. I still remember, you know, playing with it in the garden or whatever it was. It's
so speaking of building your own action figures, something we do here on MOTUESDAY is we ask our guests, using only vintage parts, to put together their, if the line would have continued in '87, what would it be like your custom dream figure? And the idea would be like if they did a mail away promotion in '87 where you could make your own MOTU figure. And so most times we'll do that, and people will then give me a list of the parts they would use and kind of what they would do. And then I'll digitally make like a rendering of it, and it's a very fun reveal. Dave went a different way, where he just sent me a picture of 3 already completed figures he had done.
Nice.
He did the job for you.
He did the job for me. He said, so here's what I would do. So he's got a Prince Skeletor there. He's got a Wondar or Savage Skeletor, and then he's got this Trapjaw Skeletor here, which is brilliant.
That is
before we go too far ahead, I don't think we can gloss over that battle armor He-Man with the great big hole in its noggin. If you could just take us back a couple.
Yes.
Because it seems like He-Man's given up on that armor slashing and going, you know what? Straight on the head. That's the quickest way to do it. 3 strikes, no way.
I was sent that by someone as a you know, can you fix it up? But as soon as I got it,
is he fixable?
I've you know, you can see on the floor in front of them, I've got a couple of spare heads, so I could easily just swap out a head on him. But as soon as I saw it, it reminded me of another childhood thing. I really like heavy metal and sort of industrial metal and that sort of stuff. And there's an Iron Maiden single for Can I Play with Madness, which has the Iron Maiden sort of you know, signature character Eddie. They sort of cracked open the top of his head, and there's a spoon. It's like his head is an egg, and there's a spoon in it scooping out the contents of the egg in his head. And so as soon as I saw that Skeletor, it's like it just reminded me of that Iron Maiden album cover. So I decided not to fix it because I much prefer it looking like that. So he just stayed as is, and he's still down there in my pile of figures with a smashed up head, because I just think he's funny, and he stands out. It just is. Sometimes it's the break in a figure, or you know, what's broken about it, that makes it humorous to me, or makes me like it more than any other, because I've got other battle armor Skeletors. You know, it's not like it's my only one. If it was my only one, I would probably fix it, but because I've got a few of them, he's special because I like the fact he's so damaged. I have no idea what happened to him. Maybe someone ran over him with a lawnmower or something. I don't know, because there's a big chunk. It's not like it's just split. There's a chunk. If
it's a soft head, I guarantee you a kid was chewing on it.
Yeah, it just looks nasty. But so he is left as is because I like him, because he's so weird looking.
Yeah.
Sorry for steamrolling you there, Adam.
No, that's perfect. That's what we do here. We steamroll on the MOTUESDAY. I commented on that as well, because I said most people would take that figure and say, garbage. Dave says it's going to be my favorite one in the collection because of an Iron Maiden album. Just throw it in there.
It's just, I think there's an obsession with toy collectors of getting the mintiest, nicest version of any figure. And for me, that's just not it. There's a Japanese saying that, you know, wabi sabi, which is finding perfection in imperfection, essentially. And to me, that is perfection. It's got a story. I have no idea what that story is, but it's I like the look of it. So he will stay like that. Yeah.
That's a good thing about action figures too. I like a well played with toy because you know it had some adventures. If I see a toy that's been around since the 60s, 70s, or 80s and it doesn't have a scratch on it, well then it wasn't a toy. It was never anyone's plaything. It was just a statue or whatever. But yeah, a well played with toy has some story behind it.
Exactly. It means the child that got that loved it, and that, you know, most likely that was their favorite toy, which is why it's so beaten and so worn. You know, that's what toys are for. Toys are to be played with, and I still think that's what I do with them today. I just play them in a slightly different way. You know, because if I was to be in the garden scrabbling around with them, actually no, I do that, but if you know, people would think I'm weird. But it's, you know, it's just playing with stuff in a different way.
Yeah. It's funny. I have a few GI Joe planes that I'm gonna be fixing up and restoring, but I have one that I'm like it's in pieces, and I was like, what would it look if I didn't fix it and just hung it from the ceiling, because I hang all my planes from the ceiling, and made it look like it was exploding.
Yeah.
Ah, cool. Yeah.
It was like midair explosion. I was like, that may be a cool. Maybe I don't need to fix this one. Maybe I just need to display it well.
That's it's whatever enjoyment you can get out of it. I have a second YouTube channel now, and I've been sort of building up some mascots for it. One was the remains of an action man that I got at a toy fair. It's a right mess, and I made myself a new one, not on purpose. I was actually just fixing something up, but I got halfway through fixing him and thought he looked better and was more fun. So I have a new mascot for my second channel, which is half Vader, which is half a Darth Vader.
Nice.
Because I got that far with fixing him, and it just made me smile that there's just half a figure.
That's hilarious.
Vader sounds perfect too. Half Vader.
So this is half Vader, and you'll see him on Toy Polloi too occasionally, just because he made me laugh. I don't have another arm and I don't have another leg, but someone's already offered me like an arm and leg. I'm like, no, I don't want them. I like him like this. It's funnier to me, and I can have more fun with this guy like he is like that. So
if you were gonna sell him, Dave, would you charge an arm and a leg?
Yes. Boom.
Nailed it. So
Phil was so impressed he dropped off the edge of the stream.
So we joke that Phil sometimes connects to the stream using his Commodore 64. So he will hopefully eventually show back up. But so we have Dave's beautiful creations here, and so I decided, well, I'm still gonna do my part. So I took the Trapjaw armed Skeletor, which was my favorite of these three, and I said, what would it look like if Mattel did it? Like, how would they actually do it? So I kind of did a little bit of a different color scheme.
Oh, cool.
And so I called him Skeletron, and we gave him a black Skeletor belt, and then the attachment for the arm is the top half of his Havoc staff. So this is Skeletor after a brutal battle with He-Man, where He-Man cut his Havoc staff apart, and his arm is also a Trapjaw arm, so it's kind of mechanical as well. So he's had some modifications, and so this is what I think it would look like if Mattel did it. And I think yours is perfect, Dave, but I needed to do something.
Phil's back. You got to scroll down and find him.
Oh, there he is.
I'm back.
There's the legend right there. So Skeletron is going to add to our Masters of the Universe collection. But then, Dave, I also felt a little bit. I was like, you know what? I feel like I usually there's somewhat of a creative process I go through preparing for Mo Tuesday, and I love that you had your stuff ready to go. But I was like, I feel like I need to be more creative. So I said, what would it look like if Dave was in the Masters of the Universe line? And so
I dread to think.
I said,
Hey.
so I said, we'll go with
awesome.
the Jitsu Fisto kind of body. And we'll give him Jitsu's head, where we're going to make him Caucasian with his trademark graying hair and goatee there. And because you are a devotee of Skeletor, you have the big Skeletor collection, your character then chose to wear Skeletor's armor as an homage to him. And then your attachment hand is a big wrench. And you are the fixor. So in my mind, Skeletor got beaten up by He-Man, and then Fixor made him into Trapjaw Skeletor. And so you guys come in a two-pack of Masters of the Universe figures.
That's great. No, that does seem fitting. I would need a selection of attachments, like a bit like a sort of penknife or something, with Swiss Army knife, because
WD-40.
It's all about the tools. Yeah. And
this morning, I kicked myself. So I was like, I could have put Trapjaw's belt on him and had other tools in the back.
Yeah.
Like a screwdriver hand and like a hammer hand.
Yeah, I think it needs that, or maybe maybe some styrene or a penknife or some sort of some sort of glue that I can go and get. But that's great. That's great. I love it.
So if you ever want to do a part 2 to this morning, you could try and make one yourself. You could do a custom Fixor figure on your channel.
I think I have most of those pieces in a bag. So yeah, I
Here's
know
a challenge for you.
I'm just saying, challenge thrown down.
Yeah.
There it is. But no, we try to have.
That's awesome.
I think
very
that was
impressive.
fun. And again, I think both of those figures and the three you've made look very much like they would fit seamlessly in with the collection.
Yeah, I think my favorite of my odd Skeletors is this one, which is I don't really have a name for him. I should have asked people for a name for him. This is Prince Skeletor. So it's like Skeletor, on his day off, when he's not being an evil overlord, and he goes back to his sort of day job of just sort of mooching around Snake Mountain, in his sort of casuals. But because of his love for He-Man, because we all know Skeletor really does love He-Man, and that, he sort of mimics his outfit that he's wearing. So this is his, Skeletor like casual evening wear sort of thing.
Yeah, I when you showed me that picture, I envisioned that to be like a backstory where Skeletor and He-Man as young men went to the same prep school, and that was their uniform.
Because there's definitely a love between Skeletor and He-Man. It's like, they fight, but I don't actually think there's any hatred going on there. I think Skeletor is quite jealous, maybe, or something like that. You know how when you're jealous, you sort of copy somebody or copy their style. I think that's just him copying He-Man's style. It's like, yeah, go on. I've got the same waistcoat and that. It's just
they both turn up at the same place. He was like, "Oh, I can't believe you're wearing the same outfit.
Exactly.
I wear this all the time."
Yeah.
Great minds.
Tinker says that's what Skeletor wears to the farmer's market on Sundays.
Yeah. It's like, oh, this old thing. I just put it on. It's just that sort of casual clothing.
One of us has to change.
I wonder if it has the same Prince Adam effect though, where you can't tell that he's Skeletor because he's wearing the Prince Adam.
No, that's why I think he needs a different name. I've just not thought of it. Yeah, it will be something like Gordon or something. No, something.
Gordon, Prince Gordon.
So everyone goes, oh no, I'm not Skeletor. My name's Gordon. It just needs to be a really boring name, because I think I like Prince Adam. Adam is no offense, Adam, but it's a fairly normal. It's a fairly.
The thing about my name is it's been around forever.
Yeah, but same
literally.
Same. Mine's an old-fashioned name, so that's why I think he just needs a sort of fairly normal name, like he works in an office or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like
This is
I
Edward.
like Gordon.
Gordon's great.
Gordon. It's like Gordo. No, it's Gordon and Gordon only. So actually, it's very timely that you bring up the Prince Skeletor or Prince Gordon or just Gordon, not Gordo. He doesn't like Gordo, but Gordon. Because tonight is the drop for He Skeletor, which is basically just a blue He-Man.
Yeah.
Why is called He Skeletor?
True.
I don't know. Because he never became Skeletor in this alternate universe, and he doesn't have a skeleton face.
Isn't that just Faker?
Well,
Isn't it? Isn't it?
I love MOTU. I love it. It's one of my absolute properties of all time. The He Skeletor thing, it makes no sense to me, and I'm just like, I have no desire for that toy. No,
I think if you've got Faker, it's just Faker, isn't it? It's not.
Right.
There's nothing. They've already done it essentially, haven't they? It's just the same. I guess it's for Mattel. It's just a cheap figure. They just done a bit of a repaint, haven't they? Does he come with any different accessories, or is it the same?
It's a power sword and He-Man armor, basically. But Dave,
purple armor.
Dave, I've got to say, after that conversation to do with Gordon, I think I'm always going to associate Skeletor with Gordon now. Yeah. I don't think I'm ever going to forget that. It's just Gordon.
I think it will be one of those things that it will go into folklore. So you'll be looking on Wikipedia and it will say Skeletor's real name is Gordon, and no one will know where it came from. But it'll just be one of those facts.
One of the projects we have in the hopper is something called the Kingdom of Grayskull, where Zazel and I and others are going to be continuing the vintage storyline as if there was, a toy line in 1988 and 1989. And the whole idea is that Skeletor takes over Randor's castle, so then He-Man becomes the King of Grayskull, and they have this battle, and it keeps going on. And then He-Man has more Grayskull armor. But I think we need to do flashbacks now where He-Man and Skeletor were in school together, and it was just Adam and Gordon.
Yeah.
And they do like science projects together.
Yeah. But there's going to be there needs to be some sort of reason that they fall out, and it needs to be something really mundane.
Like they both like the same girl.
I know I wouldn't even go that far, because I imagine that they're quite sort of
Matching outfits.
They're nerdy.
That's what did
They're
it.
nerdy kids. It will be like something like that Gordon broke one of Prince Adam's toys or something like that. You know, it'd be something really basic that it's not.
Right.
I don't think there should be a love interest, because
he caught him cheating at Risk.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. or he got the sticker that he needed for his sticker album and he wouldn't give it to him. You know, something really childish and
you wouldn't sell him the baseball card.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Very good. That's amazing.
We'll figure this out. There's a story there somewhere.
Yeah, we'll workshop this a little bit. So what we do here, Dave, the bulk of the show is we go through a vintage wave of Masters of the Universe figures, and then we kind of rate each figure and talk about them, and then we go through the corresponding Origins wave and see which one kind of fares better. And so we don't count well here. So this is our 6th episode of Mo Tuesday, and we started with wave 1, and then did wave 5, and then did wave 3, and then did the
Lost Wave, right?
The 87, Power of Grayskull wave, and then we did so what did we do last time? We did wave 3 last time, did we not?
Was it wave 3? Was Stinkor? What was that? Rob Vegas, what did he have? Was
that
wave?
That was wave 4 when Phil was the host, and then we did wave 3, which was the Battle Armor He-Mans, and
we can't even count what we've already done. Let's just move on.
All that to say is we are back now to wave 2. So we're going to go through wave 2 of the vintage line, and then we're going to go wave 2 of the Origins line, and kind of discuss it and see which went better. But all of this, Dave, just I don't want to. All of this doesn't matter, and it's all for fun. There's no skin in the game here. We are just buddies talking about stuff we love, and so that's it. There's no wrong answer here.
Speaking of Eldor, he's in the chat, and
Willem, Toy and Hobby, how are you doing, sir?
G'day,
hey,
Will.
Another great creative guy doing cool custom stuff. And Eldor is here, so if you have any questions about Ancient Eternia, he's probably the guy who can answer them. He probably taught Gordon and Adam at the university.
And Johnny jumped in too, but he's going to catch the replay.
Yeah, and we've got a couple extra guys here. Rolando's here. All the greats are coming in. All right, so we're going to start with wave 2 of the vintage He-Man Masters of the Universe line.
You'd think so, Joe.
And we have, first up is the Evil N figure. So this was a straight repaint with a new head of Tila. And I think this was the heart of the line, was these like simple repaints, and we didn't care as kids. Like I think I was 14 before I realized this was just Tila painted different colors.
Right. I think as kids you don't notice that sort of stuff.
No.
I actually really like this figure. It's a sort of a classic one. I have a few of these, but there is a big disappointment for me with this figure, which I think I did a video on it, that she should have a cape, because every time you see her in the show, she's got a cape, and it would have been a very easy thing, considering she has no accessories. You know, she's got her wand or whatever it is, little orb on a stick. A cape just makes her look so much better and so much more evil. I always think a cape is quite an evil thing, wafting it around. So I like the figure, but I always think there should be more with stuff like this.
Oh, look at this! The prettiest MOTU fan out there is watching. TV. How you doing, hon?
Mrs. Go Figure.
Mrs. Go Figure, just holding the fort down. Now, there is an internet rumor about this figure, in that some of the staffs actually glowed in the dark.
They do, yes. I'm sure I have one.
Oh, they do?
They do, yes, yeah.
Okay.
I may even be able to...
It's not documented anywhere. Like, it's not advertised on the package. It's just...
If you're lucky, you find it. If you're playing with your toys under your blanket when you're supposed to be asleep, that's when you figure it out. Oh, Stephen Sheets is also here, and Daredevil Dave.
Daredevil Dave definitely needs a cloth cape.
Oh, look. Well, I happen to have mine with a cloth cape there, but they do definitely glow in the dark. There are some versions of it that does glow. So, yeah.
Okay.
It's definitely not a lie, that one.
Hold on 1 second, Dave. I'm going to solo you to show off
Yeah,
that
that's
excellent
much
cape
better.
you have there.
There you go. There's one with a cape.
That's
Yeah.
much better. Yeah.
That is much
Yeah, I
better.
like it.
Yeah.
It's made.
I
This
also-
one's made out of pleather. I don't know. I made some out of fabric and some out of pleather, but it just makes her look more. For me, like the TV show, the cartoon was what I really loved. You know, I like watching the cartoons. So the more a figure looked like the TV show, the better. And I think most
It
of
does
them did.
complete the look.
Yeah, because otherwise, like when you buy it as an action figure, you don't get much with it. I don't like, you know, if you think it, compare it with He-Man, we've got sword, shield, axe, you know, and
Well,
his
even
armor.
Taylor with the snake armor, that was more than
Exactly.
Yeah.
She's got the snake. She has the snake armor. She has her shield, doesn't she? And she has a staff. So she gets three things.
staff, that's right.
Yeah. Whereas Evelyn, you know, a staff, it's a bit boring. So yeah.
Yeah.
I just think she should have. You'd always have more.
I also love this female construction better than the She-Ra construction. I thought that when they did the Princess of Power, they should have kept this style of figure going. But that's me being picky.
The flat hand works better for Evelyn because you can say that she's doing some sort of magic or something. Because other than that, it doesn't really work.
Well, I think Tila, when I was a kid, gave a lot of throat chops.
Yes.
You know, she did that.
It's quite Miss Piggy, going sort of Muppet era. But I think,
Exactly.
no, I think that was the other limit with these is they can't hold the other weapons. So you can't hold like He-Man's weapons. Basically, she can just hold the weapon that she comes with, which is a bit, you know, a bit rubbish. But
yeah,
I think that's. I think these seem to be a little bit of an afterthought, like they wouldn't sell. I guess they thought that female figures. He-Man was essentially a boys' toy line, really. You know, maybe they just think they wouldn't sell, so don't put much effort into them. And yeah, but at least they have the spring-loaded waist. You know, that could have been something they could have easily given up on because it's a more complicated construction because it's a smaller toy. But at least they kept, you know, that was kept in, so it's still got some action features.
Phil, what are your thoughts on Evelyn?
I just want to apologize. My internet keeps cutting in and out, and the conversation is breaking up on me. So hopefully I'm not repeating what you guys have already said. Evelyn, I find Evelyn is the most difficult figure out of the whole line to stand up straight in the collection. So I find her a bit of a frustrating one. With Tila, at least her sort of stick, you can kind of plant it on the ground, and it keeps her standing up straight. But Evelyn, she's a bit of a nightmare for me. I always have to sort of put her into the corner of the shelf to lean her up against the wall. So yeah, she's.
I always have mine next to my Skeletor bone throne, and so she's leaning up against the throne.
Oh, okay.
Whispering.
Right.
You put the hand out for balance.
I have a stand for mine because she just keeps falling over. So
that's a good idea.
She's an awkward one for sure.
Yeah.
So they're always clever with their names with Masters of the Universe. And, you know, it wasn't until later when I met someone called Evelyn, I was like, hang on, I get it.
You know Gordon?
Do you know Gordon?
I've never thought of it like that, Zazel.
See? We learn
Evelyn.
stuff here on MOTUSDAY. Every other day we don't learn anything.
Education.
I learned last week on MOTUSDAY that there was a variant on Clawful that had Skeletor feet instead of Buzz-Off feet.
There we go.
And I looked in my extra parts bin.
And you found one in your collection.
And there he was. I had the variant and had no idea. Which says I'm either not paying attention or I have too many spare parts.
People in the chat are loving loving the cape.
Yeah, I think the cape is
it
makes such a difference to it. It's one of those things like it's an easy thing to do. It's an easy thing to add to a toy, but on some toys it just brings them to life. And I think when a toy is this simple with this sort of minimal accessories, just give her a cape. And one of my in the show, that's all she has. You know, whenever she's on the screen, she's wafting about with that cape flowing behind her. So, you know, it's a big part of her look.
Yeah, one of my first videos, I did a better cape for John Blackstar, who came with a very small, real janky cape. So I made him more of a royal cape, and it really takes the figure to another place.
Yeah,
right?
and it's not like it's not like it wasn't done on other figures around that time. Or to be honest, in that toy line. You know,
Yeah.
you have fabric goods on figures. Prince Adam, you know, for one, has it. King Randor has a he's got a fabric cape, hasn't he?
Eric Wood has one.
Yeah, so there's a fair few other figures in the line that have fabric capes. So it wouldn't have been much to you know, to add it. I don't think it's something they missed, certainly.
All right. Well, the next figure in the wave 2 was Faker. Now you want to talk about
Skeletor.
He's Skeletor,
Exactly.
right? This figure is simply recolors. There's not one original part on it. They're not even trying to hide it, and it's perfect. I love Faker.
It has a sticker.
It has a great sticker.
That's about. Yeah, I do. I quite like this figure. I like the fact that he has, you know, he is essentially a blue He-Man, but with Skeletor arms. There's not a great deal. Has he got Skeletor arms? No, he's got
He-Man arms.
Is it? Oh,
Yeah.
I was just checking. Yeah. So it is just a repaint, but it does the job, doesn't it? You know.
Yeah.
Does he not have an orange skirt? I was convinced that he had the orange sort of skirt on.
He didn't have the orange skirt, and so when I was doing repro armor for my Faker, I instinctively just made him an orange skirt, and then I put up, and someone came in my office and they saw my collection. They're like, "He never had a skirt," and I was like,
No, I can't think. I don't know. Mine's right at the back of my collection, so I don't often see it. But yeah, I thought he had a skirt on, but that's you know.
Yeah.
So he just comes with an orange power sword, does he? That's right.
Now this figure doesn't make any sense. Like to say he's going to be a fake He-Man that's going to be blue and wearing Skeletor's armor. Like that doesn't make sense. But again, as a kid, you're like, didn't matter. I love it.
This may have been somebody's first He-Man as a kid.
Exactly.
Right? Someone's gone, oh, this is a He-Man. And then it's like the ultimate fake out, right? It's like, that's where it works. That's where it's the real faker.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. So Revelations came out and they released the Faker from the show, which is just like a battle damaged robot He-Man. And I was like, this is better. Like this is more fun. It's the colors pop better. And you just use your imagination as a kid.
But I think you could have certainly done more with this figure if you'd used different arms to make his arms maybe look a bit more robotic. You know, you could probably use doesn't Triclops have sort of who has the sort of mechanical arm
Trapjaw.
Yeah, it's like a Trapjaw.
But
there's another one that has sort of
Roboto.
Is it Dragster as well? I think Dragster's got some. There's a few anyway that have sort of more like roboty type arms, and I think you could have got away with that if it's still all been made in blue plastic, just to make him look a little bit more like he is a robot version of He-Man. I think it would have sort of given it.
Yeah, I think they could have tried a bit harder too. Actually, just the sticker alone, I think a bit more imagination with the body parts, perhaps. I don't even remember seeing Faker in the stores when I never had Faker as a kid. I don't remember seeing him in the stores. He obviously
got away with
pop
it
out
then.
to me.
That's exactly what he wanted.
That's what he wanted.
It worked.
Yeah. So I was born in 81. So by the time I was toy cognizant, we're already into like wave 4 of the MOTU. So a lot of my wave 1, 2, and 3 guys came from like yard sales and garage sales, rummage sales. So I remember seeing this and being like, what in the world is this blue He-Man?
Yeah.
And just knowing I needed to have it, not knowing that it was Faker.
A color change option would have been a lot cooler too. Color change plastic. So, put it in warm water or cold water to reveal the fakeness of the faker.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Which I'm sure that technology was around then.
It was, because there's a G.I. Joe figure, Zartan. He changed his skin tone, changes colours, and that's about the same sort of era. Right. Maybe a little bit later, but it's the same sort of era. No, there definitely was. I think there's certainly more they could have done with him. Just to make a little bit more robotic and a little bit more, like he isn't an actual human being. Something just.
Or give him a cape.
But I think. It's fitting that the He Skeletor is coming out, because I think this was just how can we get a really cheap figure out quickly and add to the line, right?
But a different colored power sword is also pretty cool. I mean, I don't know what the lore is to do with that power sword, whether it's just it has no real power to it. But you've got Skeletor's sword, you got He-Man's sword, and then other than variations of He-Man, were there any other different colors for the Power Sword? Even Castle Grayskull.
There's some in weapons packs. There's a sort of blue version that came in the weapons pack, isn't there?
There's a blue version of the weapons pack, and there's a pink version that came with Prince Adam.
Oh, and Prince Adam, yes.
Yeah. So I wonder what color Gordon's sword was.
Gordon's sword is just his purple sword painted pink. So you can see the bits of purple still coming through.
Gordon's sword is going to be the name of our podcast where we do like audio plays about He-Man and Skeletor in school.
Gordon's sword.
I think he needs a slightly different voice as well, or or maybe some glasses or something. Like when Superman,
a fake nose with glasses.
Yeah, like
when
Superman is Clark Kent. You can't tell it's Superman because he's got glasses on. So I think he possibly needs a little bit more of a disguise just to hide the fact he's basically got a skull for a head.
I think Skeletor's real voice, Gordon's voice, needs to be very, very low. So he's like, "Hello, everybody." And then when he's Skeletor, he's like, "Well, I'll show you." It's all an act.
Maybe the sword could be brown. He could use it like a cane, turn it upside down as he's, walking around the house.
Gordon, this is going to catch on, guys.
No, I think of all the things we talked about this morning, Gordon
too.
Oh, a pipe. He's trying to be very regal in post-secondary. He's like,
it's just blowing bubbles.
Yeah, because it does look like he's got sort of a bit of a smoking jacket on. It's quite a nice sort of, it would fit.
That's right. Yeah,
that's amazing. All right, so moving on from Faker, we come to Man-E Faces.
Do you know what? I only had very few He-Man figures as a child. I didn't buy any originally. They came from jumble sales and things like that. And Man-E Faces was one of the ones I had. I loved him just because it's a unique feature. I like the fact that you could do that. He's a rubbish figure, but because I had so few of them. Because I had so few of them. This was like a go-to. It's like, oh yeah, that's a cool feature. That's a cool feature.
Is his flesh stretched over that helmet? Is that his skin?
It's like mutant something, isn't it? It's a real mutated body with tubes squidged in him and that. Yeah.
Oh, hey, Dom. Dom's here.
He's got out of the shower or into the shower.
So this is my least favorite of the original run, kind of first 4 wave before it got a little too crazy. Masters of the Universe figures. I just think I didn't know what he was growing. I was like, I don't know. Is he a human? Is he what's real? And then when he was on the TV show, he was just an actor. He wasn't even a warrior. He was just doing plays and stuff. And I was like, well, there's not even what is this figure? So for me, this was a miss as a kid.
So have you got one now, Dave? The Man-E Faces?
I've got a couple of them actually. It was I don't know. It's just. But when you don't have many toys of a toy line as a child, and I think I had Trapjaw as well. I think I only had 2 He-Man figures. Both came from jumble sales. This one and Trapjaw. Because of that, and because I wanted them so badly, I loved it no matter what it was. I think my obsession as a child was Ram Man. I really wanted Ram Man, and I never got one. So I made one out of felt, which I can show you. I've shown this before on a couple of things.
Hold on, this is very exciting.
So what's the default face that you display Man-at-Arms in then, out of the human, the robot, and the alien?
He's in human at the moment, one on my shelf. But yeah, because I had very few as a child, Man-E Faces, great. Trapjaw, great. I don't have any accessories for Trapjaw, but I loved him. But I was obsessed with Ram Man, so I made myself a Ram Man.
Oh, nice.
And this is it. We were clearing out my mum's house a couple of years ago, and she'd kept this. I didn't know she'd kept this, so I found this in the cupboard. I put it in a box because I just thought it looked like slightly better in a box. But I made this, and I must have been. So when did He-Man come out? It was like 82. 81, 82. So I would have been. I would have been like 8 or 9 years old. And I obviously spent a good afternoon with the felt and made this, my own version of Ram Man because I was so obsessed with him. I never got one. I've obviously got one now, but as a child, I never had Ram Man. So this
you had the best one, if anything.
Yeah, this was what I made all those years ago, and it's just
that's incredible.
I couldn't. I don't think I could make that now. I have no idea how I made it, but it's it's quite a unique sort of collector's piece, I suppose.
That is going to go for millions of dollars on auction.
Yeah. It's weird, isn't it? But I don't know why I was obsessed with Ram Man. I think I'd seen the adverts. In the adverts, so you saw him powering forward and knocking things over and knocking stuff over, and I just thought, oh, that's really cool. I love him. And I think in the cartoon, he's sort of underused in the cartoon because he's just a sort of simpleton, really, isn't he? He's got a sort of simple meathead because he keeps banging his head against stuff. I suppose.
What did it for me as a cartoon is that he was always short. He wasn't a tall guy who would bounce. He was just always short. That was his actual stature, and I was like, that's not right.
But when
the figure was shorter.
Yeah.
Is he short? But when I finally got one, I was so disappointed in the toy because I'd always been led to believe that the toy you fired him off and he fired with real force and then when you actually finally get one, you press it, it's just like. It's like,
that happens with age.
We're gonna get there, but you have the best Ram-Mans on the planet with your supercharged spring in them.
Yeah, but that was only because once I'd got one and seen how disappointing it was, I was like, oh, as a child I would have been so like, oh, I've spent all my pocket money on this and it was rubbish. So now as an adult,
very like my wife doesn't watch a lot of my live streams or whatever I do here. She watches the ones that I ask her to, but she. Right now that is amazing. The felt Ram-Man is right up her alley.
It's one of those things. I don't know why my mum kept it, but I'm glad she did because it's such a weird sort of thing to have made, and I'd completely forgotten about it until I saw that. I was like, oh yeah, I made that. As soon as you see it, it's like, my God, yes, I spent an afternoon making it and gluing things on, and like, yeah. Weird.
So, Phil, what are your thoughts on Many Faces?
Much like my internet connection tonight, I don't have a strong connection with Many Faces. Yeah, not a big fan. He was never. And his pistol is just his blaster is just one of those standard issue blasters that a few of the other figures have got as well. So. I just never really had much of a liking towards Many Faces. I think I'm sure I had him. I think he's quite a common figure to get now as an adult collector. He seems to pop up a lot. He's a pretty common dude. But I don't really have any strong feelings towards Many Faces.
So my wife is saying that it's totally something that a mom tucks away. It's so heartwarming. So
yeah, it is. In fact, there was a whole box of stuff that my mum had kept that I'd made, other little felt creatures and things, just little toys. It was quite interesting to see the box because it's other TV shows I was obsessed with at the time,
right?
That I was making stuff from because if there was no toy for it, it seems that I would have spent an afternoon and made something from it. So He-Man wasn't the only show that sort of grabbed my imagination, but I think that's the best one.
Dave, how old were you when you started making things and repairing things? Obviously from a very young age.
I'm going to say it's very hard to know, but obviously that I was about 8 or 9. But I think because most of my toys were second hand. I did buy some stuff, but a lot of it was second hand, car boot sales, jumble sales, things like that. My mum would go to a jumble sale or a charity shop and bring something home that wouldn't be complete, so I would make something for it. I remember getting a Mego Batman and Robin doll. Neither of them had their capes, so I got some felt or some fabric or something and made a cape for them because that's how they look like in the show. So I think it's probably been a lifelong thing I've done. Both my mum and dad were very creative. My mum used to make stuff and knit and sew, whereas my dad would build electronic things and build model kits and like remote control cars and boats. So I think their influence has obviously got me into it. My brother's not so much. My brother doesn't do anything particularly like this. He's not, but for me this was it. This was the big thing, being creative and using your hands for making stuff. So I'm going to say probably as long as I've been able, I've been making stuff like that, or fixing things or doing my own thing with it.
Right.
Beautiful. Yeah.
There's something about MOTU and guns that just don't sit right with me. I think I like them better with a sword.
Yep. So
Me too. Yeah.
Somehow the Cobra Khan and Zodak gun get away with it because Zodak was kind of a spacey figure. And then the Cobra Khan, that gun looks like a cobra frill on the neck in my mind. But this gun just seemed clunky and not. This figure was not for Adam. I will say that.
Did he ever have a gun in the show? Or, because you say he was an actor.
He was an actor who would pretend to be things, and people would fall for it. He'd have Orko's face on. And they're like, "Oh, is that Orko? He's 6'1". Usually wasn't.
So this was literally just we need to give this figure an accessory. What shall we give him? Sort of weapon.
Give him a gun. Yeah. So that's that. And then moving on here. We've got the man. Now, aesthetically, this guy looks incredible. Like the visual of Ram Man is one that I always associated with Masters of the Universe. He was I would say a core character. And yeah, in the show, he was a little bit buffoony, but very excited to get this figure when I was a kid. And then much like you said, Dave, then you get him and you're like, eh.
But I think like all of these toys, the adverts in those days made every toy look amazing. You'd see something, and I think the Ram Man advert, much like Thunder Punch He-Man as well. When you see the Thunder Punch He-Man advert with the caps going off and there's like a kid smashing some cups over, you just wow, that's what I want to do. And Ram Man was that. You just saw him and he was knocking things over. It's like that's really cool. Yeah. And then when you get him, and it's the weediest little spring that's doesn't he doesn't even lift off the ground. You press it and it's like it's such a disappointment.
Yeah. The thing about Ram Man when I got is he didn't feel like a Masters of the Universe toy when you got him in your hand. It was like a whole different thing, right? It was like a hollow. I felt like I was always going to break it.
Yeah, he feels very weedy and light in his construction, but I guess that's he is such a different figure to all of the others. There's no common elements, even down to his hands. They've had to make a special holding for his axe. There's no common elements. It's almost like they designed it for another toy line and then thought, oh, actually, we'll just sort of squeeze this in, which could have happened. But
yeah, absolutely.
Phil, do you have Ram Man, Phil?
I do, yeah. I wasn't a fan of Ram Man either. Sorry?
I wonder if you could, on another show, if you could have one of your WWF figures with the spring action go up against Ram Man and see who does it better.
Spring off.
Yeah, have a spring off.
Who did it better, the Hasbro or Ram Man? Yeah.
It's clearly going to be everything else. It's not Ram Man.
Ram Man is a bit of a hero for me in Japan, though, because Japan being an earthquake-prone country, he's the complete opposite of evil, and he will stand the test of time. So whenever all of my other figures get knocked over during an earthquake, and I have to display them, Ram Man is always up there, standing up straight. So he's become a bit of a hero for me. So I've become a late fan of Ram Man. He's definitely he's one
of those figures you either love or hate. There's a guy in the UK, I can't think of his name, but he is trying to make Ram Man a rare figure. He goes under the name You Will Be Rare or I Will Be Rare or something like that, and he's basically trying to buy up all the Ram Men he can to make him a rare figure, because obviously he's not, he's one that you can pick up anyway. I think at last count he did have he's got hundreds of them. He posted a photo of all of his Ram Men lined up, and there's still 10 a penny. You can just still pick them up everywhere.
Is that what I'm doing with Sarge? I'm trying to corner the market with Sarge and Slaughter action figures.
I think
maybe subconsciously that's what I've been trying to do. But with Ram Man, he and the female figures like Teela and Evelyn, they must be the only ones with the closed fist with the circular port, right?
Yeah, I think they are, and it's that's why they're sort of odd, because it means you can't put any other characters' weapons in their hands, which sort of limits their, like, it's nice to be able to swap weapons between characters. You know, someone, you know, if you're having a fight, someone steals someone else's sword or whatever. And these ones, you basically, you get what you get, and that's it. There's nothing else you can do with them. He is a very limiting figure. Even you can't pose his arms essentially because his arms are like that. They can either go like that or like that.
Right.
You know, there's nothing. There's nothing you can do with him. So he is a terrible action figure, really. But
he's really good at doing the first half of the YMCA dance.
He can do a pretty good M.
Yeah,
he can do the Y and the M, and that's it.
Yeah. It's basically a toy that they thought of an idea, like, this is what we want this toy to do, and then that's all the toy can do. There's no other option with him. It's not. There's no other.
Well, if you're called Ram Man, what other option do you need? If I was called Ram Man, that's all I'd be doing.
Ramming, yeah. But the thing is, he can't even do that. It's like, this is the idea for the toy. This is all he's going to do, but he's not going to do it very well. So
you have to imagine there was testing with a number of springs, and then they're like, well, this is too strong of a spring, so it'll hurt a kid.
I think that's what happened, because when I modified mine and I put, you know, like the biggest spring I could, it is lethal. I mean, you can, if you fired that into your face, you would give yourself a black eye. It is. So I think the spring they put in is probably a safety conscious thing that, you know, it does what we say it does, but it's never going to hurt someone.
Right.
The one I have now jumps about 30 centimeters in the air, and if you do that into your face, I mean, it really is, like, it really hurts, because I did do it by accident. I mean, it is vicious. So
did you have to call it science? Sorry, I got a ram man in the face. I won't be in today.
If someone said, "Why have you got a black eye?" and I was going, "Well, Ram Man," they'd be like, "What?"
Going up again.
All right. So moving on.
I think just before we move on, I think Ram Man is our friend Space Commander's favorite figure. Actually, I'm sure I've heard him say before that his favorite is Ram Man.
And Naked Stratos.
Maybe it's the lack of articulation with Ram Man that he particularly likes. He likes his lack of, he likes his 3POA, right?
POA the better, yeah.
Full transparency among friends here is, over the last year or two, I despise reality television. I hate it so much. But I did fall down the deep, dark rabbit hole of 90 Day Fiancé, which is just trash. Don't watch it. It's nonsense. But there is a guy on there named Big Ed, and he looks just like Ram Man. If they don't cast him as Ram Man in the MOTU movie, then they've really missed an opportunity. So Big Ed, if you're watching, you should be Ram Man. So moving on to the next figure in the line, we have Trapjaw. Now, I went ahead and I've added a new segment to the show, Phil and Ziz, without talking to you. But this guy gets, for me, the power sword best in the line. Best in the wave.
There we go. Best in the wave.
Well, he's got a title belt that nobody has really challenged him for.
Right.
The Eternian, what would they call that one? What would you call the belt? The Eternian something. Heavyweight championship title.
It's upside down in that photo as well.
It is upside down in that photo.
Oh God, Adam, what have you done? Are these your toys, Adam?
No, these are not my toys.
Okay, this is from your goggle or whatever it's called.
Yeah, Gaggle up here in Canada.
Gaggle.
Yeah. But no, I think for me, the articulated jaw, the fact that moved as a kid, I loved it. I loved the robotness in his arm, like the little details. This attachment on the shoulder to me was above and beyond, having the extra little like bracket that they could have just put a robot arm on him, but they gave him this bracket, which was above and beyond. They didn't need to give him this belt and extra accessories. They could have just had a gun in his arm, but they gave him a belt. They gave him extra accessories. They gave him these, like, the robot legs. This to me is a perfect Masters of the Universe figure, and
the ability to zip line, right?
Yeah,
the zip line.
The zip line bit was the bit I loved the most. In fact, I did a video fairly recently because I fixed up that zip line bit. Is always broken off, but I love zip lining toys. If you can whiz a toy down a string in your garden, it's just, I don't know, I just love playing with toys like that. The only problem I'm going to say with the zipline thing on this one is you have to thread this thing through, and then you can't take him off. It would have been better if it was a hook or something, so you could just hook him on, shoot him down, then play with him at the other end.
So, Dave, did you shoot it down towards your face just for prosperity?
I think in this one, I shot it down towards He-Man and made him smash into He-Man at the bottom. So I think I'd learned my lesson with the Ram issues.
And I think that Trapjaw, and then we'll let other people talk. But I think he was one that the cartoon made like bumbling, but he looked way more menacing than Skeletor. Even like to me, he looked like he could be the main bad guy, and I think the show did him no favors with making him goofy.
I think for me, it reminded me of Jaws in the James Bond films. You know, Richard Keel or Kyle. You know, with his massive teeth that he'd crunch onto things, and I thought that it just, you know, as a kid, those sorts of things are scary, aren't they? People with like awful teeth going to come and get you. So I think he's just a fantastic character.
Yeah. Phil, how does he stand up in a earthquake?
I'm going to put him as second best in the wave, Adam. I've got another figure that I think, and personally, is just slightly higher than Trapjaw. But just a wee plug for my channel. I recently went out to West Tokyo and I picked up a Trapjaw, and I finally picked up a Trapjaw with one of his plug-in accessories. So I've had a few Trapjaws in the past, and getting those plug-in accessories are really difficult to find. And I didn't realize that the plug-in accessories are sort of a rubbery plastic. I was expecting it to be hard plastic. It was different from what I was expecting. So that was a bit of a surprise for me, because I never had Trapjaw as a kid. So getting those accessories plugins were a first for me. But
a little tip for you, because I've got a few of them without accessories. Lego. I make all of my accessories out of Lego. In fact, I'll bring in my Skeletor here. He has a sort of spinning blade, which is just Lego pieces. You can.
That is awesome.
They fit perfectly. So all of my spare Trapjaws that don't have accessories, I just make things out of Lego pieces, because you can get all sorts of like pointy bits and things. So you can make them look quite cool for very cheap. So Lego's the answer.
Brilliant.
MOTUESDAY is brought to you by Lego this morning.
I'm going
Lego. I'm
going to rummage through my daughter's Lego collection and steal a few pieces.
There are some really good bits. There's all sorts of tubes and things like that. I've got a few down here with sort of little bits of Lego in them, just to make them look like weapons and spikes and stuff. Because without that bit on his arm, he is pretty rubbish looking. It's the weapon that makes him look more vicious.
Yeah,
right. Exactly.
Basil, what are your thoughts on Trapjaw?
I like that. In my mind, he could have been somebody that tried to usurp control and then just got messed up for his trouble, and allowed to live, but in this messed up form. I'm sure there's some sort of something in the mini comics, or there's something in the later series that explains how he looks, but in my mind, it was always like, something happened to this guy and it wasn't pretty. But like I said, that title belt, upside down or otherwise, I'm surprised that wasn't utilized more, honestly.
So Joe Ricondo says his colors were also dead right. His colors are perfect and they just pop. He is a beauty to behold. It's funny, when Origins did the Rise of Evil 2-pack with Kronos, and he didn't have a green face, and he looked awful. Like I had no desire for that figure. He just looked nonsense to me.
Right.
The non-Trapjaw version.
Trapjaw's legs. Are there any other figures that have the same legs as Trapjaw? Or
yes.
Isn't it Many Faces?
Many Faces has the same legs.
Oh, right. Yes. Okay.
And then Roboto has them as well.
Somebody mentioned earlier that the arms on Many Faces could have been better used as well on Faker.
Faker, yeah.
For that sort of robotic look.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Faker, just very simple changes with stuff they already had could have made him a much better figure. And considering, that's the whole thing with Masters of the Universe, is reuse of parts. It's just the clever reuse of parts and paint applications. You can really boost a figure up.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on from my best in the wave, we come to Triclops.
My
Now,
best
is
in
this?
the wave.
I was going to say this.
Yeah,
this
here he is. He gets the vote.
This is my guy.
This is your guy. So Triclops, to me, I never had him as a kid. Always wanted him, but again, he came out too soon. I couldn't find him at a rummage sale, so I got him for the first time. I was like an adult, and I always wanted him as a kid because he was the only other guy until Fisto came up that had a sword, right? In a sword and sorcery line, it was kind of He-Man and Skeletor had the swords, and everybody else had clubs and sticks and guns. But Triclops was a swordsman. I thought his armor was unique and it's never been reused. Like it's to him only is the armor he had. And I
never looked down at a good stick though, Adam.
A good stick helps out.
Right.
But as much as I didn't like the Manny Faces gimmick, the spinning eye gimmick I thought was incredible.
So do you know what eye does what?
I know what they did. No, I have no idea.
Dave, you must know. Dave?
No, I don't. I do have this figure, but I don't know what the point. I don't know what the point of him is. He's not a great one for me. I have to say, I don't really like him because he's just got 3 eyes. It's not that interesting. Again, if one of the eyes maybe was a gun, or
right,
to make him more.
Yeah. Wait, that's actually a pretty cool point. Phil, do you know what the eyes do?
No, I don't actually.
So blue eye is day vision, red eye is night vision, and the total red eye is like a gamma vision where you can look through or around things.
Oh.
But in the cartoon, he had like a laser eye,
Yeah, that's it. I think if the like Manny Faces, if each eye was like radically different, it would be more interesting. It's just 3 eyes. Generally most people just leave it on one of them, don't they? And it's not like you go, ooh, if you're playing as a kid, it's like, ooh, quick, I'm going to turn my head to look at you with a different eye. It's not it's not that so with Manny Faces, at least you've got like human face, robot, or sort of monster. That's quite they're quite radically different, even if he is just an actor. That's quite radically different. This is just like, oh look, I've got an eye. Oh, I've got a different eye. It doesn't. I don't know. Yeah,
I will say that the best thing to do with a Triclops figure is it's the base. It's the best base to make a movie version of He-Man.
Yes.
So all you do is paint that belt gold and those arm braces gold, and you get, again. So you're close to getting that movie without painting the furry part of the trunks.
I was going to say, sorry, apart from Faker, is Triclops the only evil warrior that has the human legs and the human body parts?
Jitsu has the human legs.
Jitsu, okay.
No, Jitsu's got the 3-toe legs.
Jitsu has
not Jitsu. Sorry. I was thinking of Ninja. Ninja. I was thinking of Ninja.
Yeah.
Never mind.
It's a good one for kit bash. I use the arms of this on more He-Man figures than anything else because he's got the painted gauntlets, and I think He-Man actually with painted gauntlets looks much better as a figure. So I quite often take the arms off these and put them on He-Man to make He-Man look better.
How do you think that, like in a Toy Story world where there's a bin and Triclops is in there, and like if Dave comes, he's going to take us and tear our arms off.
He's going to make me better.
Exactly. All right, and then moving on, this is the last one that I've honorable mention included in Wave 2, which is the Wondar He-Man or Savage He-Man. And so we've seen, I don't know if you guys have seen the letter that was uncovered when they were doing the research for the art book, which solved the mystery of this, which was the mom complaining that, we did your 3-for-1 order, and what we got was a special edition He-Man with no power harness, and my kids are very upset. And then the other the letters that responded to the president of Mattel that said, okay, she has a point. Let's stop giving those away and start giving away regular figures, which is why this is a rare figure now, because there was that one mother complained. But I think as a kid, to get a variant He-Man, or at least a variant human figure, this would have been, to me, He-Man's brother, and they would have been on adventures. Like I would have I would have loved to have a Savage He-Man as a kid.
But he didn't have the armor though, so he would have
that's
just.
the thing. It was a really basic figure, wasn't it? It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't. He didn't come. He just came with nothing. So this photo it makes him look more exciting than he is. I think.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, but even just with nothing, I'm like, oh, this could have been a buddy.
Better than Faker.
Better than Faker.
This is Wonder He-Man, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Adam, your custom that you did a custom where he's got a cat as well, right? You
I did
him all up.
I did a custom cat for him. The cat's name is Slice because it's like a slice of bread.
Yeah.
And I also did a battle armor version of Wondar, which was a lot of fun. So
what you need is the Skeletor version because he's much. Yeah. That's what I'd have done.
Yeah, done.
Simple.
Yeah.
But it works. It works.
Yeah. Just put that armor on any figure. It's like the Wonder Bread version of him.
Yeah.
Wonder Bread Gordon.
Yeah.
Wonder Bread Gordon. Absolutely.
Yeah, so this guy surely needs a name then as well, because he can't just be called Wonder. He must have a sort of boring name. He must be like
true.
Steve, yeah, like Adam.
Yeah. I was gonna say it's probably Eugene, like it's Eugene, but he goes to battle with Wondar. There's gonna be Eugene in the chat. It's like, hey,
great idea.
Steve in the chat.
So that rounds out the vintage Wave 2 line, and so we're gonna hop over to Origins and just see how Wave 2 of Origins compares. And now it's a different in that the characters already existed. So the discussion of Origins is twofold: is how are we gonna roll out the figures that we already have, and how close to the originals are we going to make them? So that's going to be kind of what we talk about here. But the Origin starts off with Manny Faces, everyone's favorite Manny Faces.
The armor is already better because it doesn't look like his flesh has been peeled up and over it. Right. But I do want to say, Dave, one of your videos where you repaint an Origin Skeletor figure's face to make it look more like the vintage version, I think that was just brilliant.
Yeah, I think that's what let down some of these figures. I actually think Manny Faces is not bad because it does look like the figure, but Skeletor, I can't believe they get him so wrong. He's such a simple figure, but such an iconic figure. And every version they've done, even the newer versions that they've just announced, the is it a Terror Claws version? There's another version they've just announced.
Dragon Blaster, and then
Dragon Blaster. That's right.
And then the one with Zor.
Yeah, he looks terrible. How can you get it wrong? It's such a simple thing to do. Like if I can do it in my room with a couple of pots of paint and a paintbrush, and you've got factories with all the proper equipment, how can you get him wrong? The sculpt is fine. It's not the sculpt. It's just terrible paint application.
I think that was what was the most surprising reveal from that video, was that it's just a simple paint change. And I mean, I say simple, but I don't think I could do it as well as you did. But just a different paint app on that elevated it.
That's the thing. The sculpt is fine. Skeletor is essentially a skull. There's not that much that you can do wrong if you get the skull shape right. But it's all about because he's such an iconic character, and as such, the toy doesn't look anything like the cartoon. That's fine. So I'm going for the toy because that was what I was most sort of in. Yeah, that's what I wanted, and it's so simple. It's 3 colors. It's not a complicated paint scheme, but you've got to get the shape right. And if you don't get the shape right, then it's off. And that's what they seem to do. They've got the sculpt right, and then the shape is like, oh well, it was just this. That's about right, but it's. It annoys me. It's so simple.
To your point, Dave. So this Skeletor here, his head is 3D printed and then painted, and it looks infinitely more like the vintage one than what Mattel is doing.
Yeah. It's simple things like Skeletor has 3 teeth. The 3 lines to show his teeth. The modern ones have like about 8, and it's like that's too many. That doesn't I know it's clever that you can do that and you can do such fine detail, but that's not how many teeth Skeletor has. He has 3 little lines, and then the paint is not faded around there's no sort of fading between the dark green and the light green. It's a hard, sharp edge that's how they put the sort of the dents in where his jaw should be. It annoys me.
when they get Manny Faces and Ram Man and everybody else like so on the nose,
that's the thing. That's what annoys me.
He-Man and Skeletor look awful.
Yeah, like if you can do it with a figure like this looks like it. I think pretty much all the other figures in the line look like the characters they're supposed to look like, but they got it wrong with He-Man and they got it wrong with Skeletor. It's like they're the two main characters.
Yeah.
How did you go? How did you get it wrong? Who signed this off? Who went? Yeah, that's fine. Oh, yeah, infuriating.
But I think if you're looking for a Manny Faces, I think this one will get the job done for you.
Yeah,
so
it's good.
This one was hard for me to find. I only just managed to pick one up not too long ago because I got into Origins a bit late in the game. And playing catch up, these earlier ones were difficult to get. I finally managed to find one, and I'm fully prepared to rip him out of his bubble and display him with the rest of my guys. But I put a photo up on a Facebook thing. I was like, "Oh, I finally got one," and someone pointed out and says, "Oh, he's a different shade of skin color. He looks a little bit more green. Like he has like a green skin tone to him." He's like, "Don't open that one. That one will be rare." And I'm like, I just want to display him with my dude.
James, look, can I tell you a secret?
Yeah.
No modern figures are going to be rare and valuable if it's not like if it's a remake of something. Just open it up.
I think the
Right
difference
now.
between vintage. I think the difference between vintage and modern toys is that modern toys become instantly expensive.
Right.
And then later on, they become less so because, we get more and more variations of it.
Right.
Whereas vintage toys become more expensive over time because that's what they were. So this would only be valuable now. Like 20 years from now, no one's gonna care.
I think that's modern collecting though. That is the I need it now sort of attitude of collectors. That everybody, if you see someone else with a toy, you've got to have it. There's no I'll wait or whatever, and that pumps up prices because certainly this figure was relatively easy to find here in the UK. There's not none of this stuff is rare because there was one set recently that they said, oh, it's really hard to get, and now you can get them on clearance everywhere. It's just it's I think it's people's collecting habits that make these things suddenly worth more, and they're not worth anything more. They're not worth more.
FOMO, fear of missing out. That's what it is.
Yeah, but
Dave, I think you and I. So you're in the UK, I'm in Canada, but the first wave went to almost exclusively the States, and then when it got broadened, so the first wave we got in Canada was wave 2. So I couldn't get a He-Man or Skeletor, and they were posting pictures of American Walmarts with all they had was He-Man and Skeletor, and all we had were Benny Faces and Scareglow and Wave 2 and Ram Man's out the wazoo, but I couldn't get a He-Man or Skeletor to save my life.
Whereas, here we are swimming in Skeletors and He-Man. I bought a load because every time I see them cheap, I think, well, I'll buy one just because I might use it for something. So they're they are cheap to find. But no, this is not a bad figure. The one I have has terrible paint applications, but that goes for a lot of modern figures, and it's something I moan about all the time. The paint application is all over the place. But if you can get past that, I actually think it's a pretty good figure, and it is very good, very reminiscent of the vintage one.
But how was
it? Looks exactly like the vintage figure.
How was it that the paint apps were better in '82 than they are in 2023? How was that?
No idea. I just reviewed some of them, the new Indiana Jones figures, the sort of Kenner Hasbro thing, and they are terrible. The paint application is all over the place, and the sculpt. You just think like, this is 30, 40 years ago. They were making this figure really well, and now what's happened? I know there are safety concerns, I'm sure, with types of plastic that can be used, and there's probably stricter rules, but things shouldn't get worse as technology gets better.
Right. And
I think though it does. I think it does, because you don't have that handcrafted look anymore. And that's where you lose the details, because you're punching everything into a computer and then let the computer do the work, and then you've got good enough. But if you're hand sculpting something, that's somebody's passion project. Yeah,
but I think you still part of my day job is computer things, and people who work in computers, you do good stuff. That's just the thing. I think there's obviously just a lack of care, I think, in a lot of it, that they don't care. It's like this stuff is throwaway now, whereas and the people, you know, these aimed for kids or are they aimed for adults? They're essentially aimed for kids, aren't they? Kids.
They're adult collectibles now. We won't let the kids buy them. We're too busy buying them up that the kids can't find them.
There is that, but I think, you know, from a marketing point of view, they're probably aiming them at kids, and kids' attention spans and play spans are incredibly short. So if a toy lasts 3 months before it breaks, or, you know, if it's not that great, it doesn't matter. It's been bought, it's been played with. Whereas when we were growing up, certainly when I was growing up, if you bought a toy, you would play with that toy for years. That was, you know, because you didn't get another one. Now kids get a toy, they'll get another toy next week, they get another toy the week after. So the toy they had the week before probably just goes in a box and is not, you know, not played with again.
I will say, I think if we as kids, if the original Master of the Universe was this toy line with the removable parts and everything, we would not see nearly as many survive, because parts would go missing.
Or you'd have different parts and different bodies. Can you do me a favor, Adam, and bring up the original Many Faces if it isn't too much trouble?
Never a problem for you, brother.
Thanks, buddy. So I just think what I prefer out of the new one is the torso area, especially. I know I make jokes that the torso looks like skin stretched over that helmet, but it just doesn't feel right. But the newer version sort of does away with that and gives it a better paint scheme for that chest. If you want to go back to the Origins one, I just think that looks more, appropriate.
No, it does fit better. The skin tone disturbs me a little bit on this one. It's very sort of orangey. It doesn't look like skin, but I was never sure.
Mine looks green.
Oh, does it? Mine is like sort of neon orange. I mean, it's a weird color, but it doesn't look like skin. But, you know, I'm never sure, is this guy a robot? So, you know, is he supposed to look not human? You know, it doesn't. I like it as a figure. I think it's a good figure, and I think it, you know, the gimmick still works nicely, and that's the important thing. They've copied the gimmick over from the old one to the new one.
And he's one of the only ones where they copied the gimmick over. I think him and Battle Armor are the only ones where the gimmick survives.
Yeah, a lot of the action features don't work, do they, on the Origins line? They've
no twist and
cut those out. Yeah.
So the next figure here,
the twisty waist was a big, you know, that's a big part of He-Man figures, being able to punch like that. So I was very disappointed when that didn't appear.
Yeah. And so the next figure here is Scareglow. Now, this was a big one for people when it came out, because it was able to complete some collections that people couldn't get the vintage Scareglow.
Right.
And I think in my mind they nailed it. This, if you need a replacement Scareglow, I think this one looks exactly like a Scareglow should look.
Mm-hmm.
This is one I've never seen in hand. Actually, I've never seen one here in the UK. So it's this is one that's hard to get here. I think he looks. Does he still glow in the dark?
Yeah. He still glows.
In that case, they've nailed it. It looks like the figure, and it does what it's supposed to do.
Right. Yeah. And I like cloth goods, but the hard plastic cape or the soft plastic cape on this one looks great with the collar. It never looks weird or janky. So I think they did a great job with that. And so I've actually taken this Origins cape and I've put it on a Prince Adam, as he's like formal Prince Adam, like he's going to a ball.
You'll see Gordon wearing one soon. Yeah.
Very soon, Gordon.
The Origins cape is cloth. Then it's not rubber. It is cloth.
Plastic.
The Origins cape is rubber.
Oh, it's rubber. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it
looks like fabric, though.
Yeah,
it does.
Is it the same? Yeah. Is it the same sort of rubber as the Sorceress's sort of wings and skirt?
Yes.
Is it?
Yeah.
Do you know what? That worries me. I think that stuff is going to perish and will be in pieces in about 5 to 10 years. I don't think.
Set our watches. We'll be back.
Yeah, there's a few toys they've released recently that I've sort of, you know, when you take them out of the packet and you feel what they're made of, you just think, yeah, that's, you know, that is not going to last the years. That will be brittle and broken. And that cape, certainly the Sorceress, there's bits on the Sorceress I just think, that's not going to last.
Yeah, but this to me is where Origins is at its best, is when they redo a very rare figure from the original line and they do it really, really well. And so you can
Yeah.
add it to your collection. So I think so hats off to Mattel for this Scareglow. You've done it. And then moving on, we've got Trapjaw, everyone's favorite.
Yeah, do you know what? I bought this one, and I think because I like the original Trapjaw and I don't like it, there's something about his face that isn't.
You know what it is?
Trapjaw.
Yeah.
You know what the problem is? His eyebrows aren't there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's the body is fine, and all the bits and all the accessories, they're great because they do look right. But the face is just not right. It's one of the few other ones I think that they have failed on.
So this reminds me of, remember there was like the Superpowers in '84 by Kenner, and then Toy Biz did like a version of them in 1989, and they were just like a little bit softer. Like they just weren't quite as good. And that's what this looks like. It's just not quite what Trapjaw should be. And because the vintage figure was so good, this one just you feel it. It's pain.
Yeah.
He also doesn't look right because he's got all of his accessories. I'm not used to seeing him with everything.
And his belt the right way around.
He looks too complete. Yeah,
that's right.
I want to see a bit more missing.
Yeah, so I think it's unanimous that one is a bit of a miss for us. And then we come up here, and I think this is where
Trapjaw was actually one of the last ones that I picked up while going back to try and pick up the earlier figures. And this one's very valuable. I was lucky enough to pick one up locally from someone who was selling them at a reasonable price, probably close to retail price. But I was finally able to pick up a Trapjaw. So now I'm picking up things that haven't come out, like pre-orders. I've got pre-orders coming out the wazoo that haven't shown up yet. I only just got a box today from Big Bad Toy Store for a lot of that's MOTU stuff that I've been waiting on for a pre-order for, got to be like 4 months, 5 months or something. Something's in that box. I haven't really had a look at it yet. I think I got 2 tongue lashes in there. I don't know why I got 2. Was I giving one to you, Phil?
I'll take one.
Okay. Well, I'm just trying to remember why I got 2. It was like, maybe this is for Phil because I've got to send you a bunch of stuff. If you need tongue lasher.
I never requested a tongue lasher from you, mate.
Well, that's imagine that. Imagine hearing that on your first date. I never requested a tongue lasher from you.
There you go.
All right. Well,
now if you think that got Zazel excited, watch his face light up when you see this next figure, Orko.
What?
I like.
Okay, I have problems. I've got problems with this, and I'm gonna go get my Orko that I use for Origins. Please hold. Well, you can talk amongst yourselves.
There you go.
I like Orko. I think he's a really good modern take on it because you can actually do more with his face. You can pose him. So
right. So I like the posability of the face. I like the articulation. Like that's good. I miss the ripcord gimmick. Like that to me was always what quintessential playing with Orko was.
Do you know what I've got? Oh, I've got 3 or 4 Orkos. I've never had a ripcord, so I've never been able to test out the feature. He has always been a figure that just sits on the ground. So I just think this one's great.
I've bought a number of like Beyblades and things to try and find a ripcord that works, and none of them are compatible with the Orko. So I've actually downloaded like the measurements for it. So I'm currently designing one into my 3D space to see if I can print one off that works. And if I can print one off that works, Dave, I'll send you one.
Yeah, I think you might be because you've got to have a lot of force pulled on that, haven't you, to make it work. Well, if you do, yeah, because I've never actually played with a vintage one that worked. I've got a few, and I'm sure they do work. But I like this new one. I think it looks nice. I do like his face. I like his eyes. Are just it's just a nice figure. Stands a bit weird because it does. Looks like there's some water coming out the bottom of him.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
It looks like his waters are burst. It's that sort of thing.
He looks like he's wet his pants. Yeah.
He doesn't wear pants. That's why it's going everywhere.
Yeah, it's a bit strange. But I actually think it's quite a nice figure. It's a good sort of modern take on.
Yeah, that's one I want. Yeah.
I think it's a good action figure. My issue is that I think it's too big. Like if Orko had legs, he'd be standing eye to eye with He-Man in this action figure. But for me, in the cartoon, he always seemed very small. You know, and that if he had legs, he would be more like a little elf or a goblin or something. So I didn't pick up this Orko because I got the this little guy here, and he's got his own little stand, which has got a little magical star there. He's got a staff, which is an accessory more than this guy's got. If you could bring me up a little bit,
Yeah,
Adam.
sorry, I'm trying to get it's all a little janky there. There you go.
Hello there. So if you compare him with, this is He-Man with the, you know, ridiculously sized battle armor, but you stand Orko next to him, and I just feel like that's more of an appropriate size.
Is that
given
the Mega Block Orko?
No, what were they called? Oh, it's probably written on the bottom. One moment. It is. It's give me my light. Where's my light? I thought I had this light on. What does it say on there? Loyal subjects.
Okay.
Loyal subjects. Oh yeah, yours is cooler, Phil.
Hold on, Phil's got something fun to show us.
My Orko is smaller than your Orko, Zazel. So this is the
yeah, Orkos.
It's a stamp. So I randomly picked up a few of these, so it's got some Italian on there, but he is a fat-looking Orko. Like, it looks like he's just raided the buffet table and he's rubbing his belly.
I can relate.
Look at that.
Orko
He's a fat little dude. So, yeah.
He does look like he's
That's my
expecting.
Orko.
Well, his waters haven't broken yet.
Yeah.
So I do think it's not necessarily that he, because Dom's saying that he's flying at everyone's eye level. I think even flying at eye level, he shouldn't be as big as the Origins figure. No, I think that's more of an appropriate size. Just for my collection, your size might vary. I've been told this is quite big, though. I've been assured that I've been told that's an appropriate size.
There you go. Okay, so now there was 2 deluxe figures in this wave. And so we've gone over this before, but I think having a vintage figure that was a regular figure, making it a deluxe figure in Origins is not the answer. I feel like that's you know, we get heads and hands and all manner of adult collectory things. I think this line should have been directed at kids. It should have been kid friendly. So to get an extra $5 out of a figure to make it deluxe, that's not what I'm a fan of. But that aside, we're going to look at the figures themselves. And so we've got Rami here. And so this, I think, is the best version of a vintage figure as far as improvement goes. Making him have articulated arms and legs, and making him actually be an action figure, and also keep the Ram Man gimmick, I think is like trophy to you, Mattel. Trophy to you.
With a head swap feature too.
Yeah, I could have done without that. I think it would have been better without the head swap figure. Just make it a basic figure.
Well, yeah, but if you get a couple of Ram Mans, you can swap out the heads and have like a battalion of Ram Mans, the Ram Battalion.
That's quite a rambunctious group of guys,
right?
The X looks much better too, I reckon.
So it came with 2 axes. It came with the regular axe and then this one as well. So it came with a couple different axes.
Yep.
All right.
He looks pretty cool. I've never seen that one. That's certainly. I may have to get one to add to my my small little Ram Man collection.
So I think you should get 2, Dave, and then change the spring in one of them and see how hard I go.
Does he spring? I've got one. Let me go see if it springs. Let me have a look.
Yeah, what's he like for spring action? Does it actually work well? Is it?
I think it works a bit better than the vintage one, but it doesn't work Toy Polloi good.
No, I think I can grab a Toy Polloi one. I think I have one here.
Kids, do not try this at home because you could get a black eye.
This is a Toy Polloi one. So if I lock him in place, I'll just fire him briefly.
1 second. Look at that.
This is a proper Toy Polloi sort of.
Here, Dave, do that again. I'm gonna make you solo here. Look at that.
Like it's properly vicious. Actually, if I put it on my laptop here and fire him off, you might see.
Look at that.
Like it's really you can make them really vicious. So yeah, that's what he should be like.
Now, Zazel, show us the Origins one. How does he?
I might have performance anxiety here. All right, here we go. No, hang on. No. Nothing. His legs extend. That's it.
Yeah, that's like an original Ram Man then. So they did copy Ram Man pretty well then. If he doesn't do much, then that is a good copy of an old toy. So yeah.
But the knees work, and you can actually do some things with him.
But the legs, the knees, but the legs don't really move though. I mean, you've got like a little bit. That's more than I suppose he got, but
yeah,
at least he's got full range in his arms.
He can do more than that. Let's face it.
Yeah. Like, he just goes, I don't know.
Definitely an improvement for sure.
Yeah, the original Ram Man is very indecisive.
Yeah,
it's great belt buckle though.
Great belt buckle.
Yeah,
he shops at the same belt store that Trapjaw shops at.
But it's nice. I think like even the subtle thing, like on the Origins version, just painting the belt black. You know, they didn't bother doing that on the original figure. Everything is just silver. It's a very minimal paint scheme.
Right.
That actually gives him a lot more sort of. It just sort of finishes him off that little bit more. You know, you could easily do it on the vintage one, paint the belt black. It would look much nicer.
Yeah.
Thumb kiss for Gaz.
Yeah,
I see Aussie's in the chat. Aussie.
Yeah, you know, they went the above and beyond and painted this guy's belt black, and they didn't give Trapjaw his eyebrows. So the decisions were made.
They had black paint, and they could only put it in one place.
The attention to detail on this stuff is weird, isn't it? Sometimes they go like, "Oh yeah, we're going to do extra on this one," and then the next one it's like, "Yeah, that'll do." It's like it's different teams of people working on it, or there's a different person signing off rather than someone doing the whole wave together.
And then to finish the wave, we've got Clamp Champ.
Oh, nice.
And so this was another one that very few people have. And so they released them. But again, they gave him a deluxe figure. So he's got a second head, which is just a slightly different expression. It's not a whole lot different. And then he's got one extra hand, and he has this extra little clamp that doesn't move. So for my money, get rid of that nonsense and just make him a regular figure. But to see Clamp Champ in people's collections, that is a good thing. I really enjoy it.
The good thing about Clamp Champ's extra head, though, is that you can put him on Sunman's head, because Sunman's head is he looks like a very young boy and doesn't look very frightening. So I think Clamp Champ, you can I've seen a lot of collectors, Origin collectors, put Clamp Champ's extra head.
I'm one of them.
Sunman's head, and you too, yeah. So that seems to be the go-to for that.
Yeah,
you had an issue with your armor on yours, though, Phil, right?
Yeah, the armor on mine sort of. I bought it at a used shop in Tokyo, and must have had a bit of heat or something, because the chest plate is made out of rubber, and it sort of warped a bit. And I found it difficult to kind of tie up together on the sides. It was very, very frustrating.
Yeah,
he wouldn't clamp, champ.
He wouldn't.
Full disclosure. My vintage Clamp Champ is wearing Origins armor.
Okay.
I have a Clamp Champ here. So
I won't tell anyone.
I have a Clamp Champ here that someone sent me to fix up, but he's still in my to-do pile. So he's an interesting figure. Never one that I was that fussed about. That big weapon is just annoying. Don't you find?
Mine will not stand like that holding that weapon.
It's too big. It's too, it just gets in the way. I think it's the thing.
This was his action feature, was his weapon, which is something we didn't see a lot in the vintage MOTU line. It was always the figure did something, but it was Clamp Champ, it was the weapon did something. And so, I think that was off brand for me, and I'd rather just have him with a hook sword or something.
Yeah, or a feature that meant his arms did that or something, so he can actually grip on someone. It just feels too big. It's like an accessory that you'd buy separately for for a figure as a sort of an accessory pack. But yeah, he never did much for me. I never bothered to get the modern version either.
Yeah. So there you go. So there's MOTU Wave 2 for vintage and for Origins. I think in my mind, the vintage line was pretty strong. There was a couple things that could have done better. And I think when the Origins line was hot, it was real hot. And when it missed, it really missed.
You're not wrong. I think.
Sorry, carry on.
No, go, Dave, please, by all means.
I think with this, I think the modern stuff is a good take on old toys. It's actually a very nice, homage to the old ones, and they're done pretty well. But they are let down with paint applications and some sort of paint things. But I think overall, for a modern take on an old toy line, they're really good. I don't. It's very hard to sort of criticize them as a sort of a whole selection of figures. I think overall they're very nice, and they are a good upgrade, shall we say, on old figures with not too much articulation, but enough. And the build quality is pretty good. Just paint, back to paint. Do it better.
Yeah, just do it better. Do it with love is what I say. Right? So that's our show this morning, guys. Dave, what do you have coming up on Toy Polloi that we can look forward to?
Oh man, I've got so much. I've got so many odd little videos that I've filmed. I've got some stuff. I think this week's video is repairing a $6 million man engine block because it's broken. I've got Star Wars stuff because everybody loves Star Wars stuff. I've got because I've got in my garage. I had a whole pile of these.
As one does.
Smashed to pieces. So I've done videos on repairing those. I've got a bit more Action Man. Have I got any Masters of the Universe? I don't think I've got any Masters of the Universe. I've got more Mask stuff, Kenner. I've just got loads of oddities and Kenner Superpowers. We mentioned that earlier, or you mentioned Superpowers.
Yeah.
The broken Batmobile.
You're going to fix the windows?
No, fix the front launcher thing. The bit that pings out the front that's always broken. So that's fixed. There are reproduction windscreens as well, but I didn't make those. So I've got lots. I think I've got videos lined up now till June. I think I filmed quite far ahead, so I've got videos lined up till June, and then I'm not sure what's happening.
Very good. Well, in June, then after June, I want to see the custom fixer that you make.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I want to see happen. But Phil, what do you have coming up on your channel? Anything in the docket, my friend?
I haven't put out a video for a wee while because as I said last week, I had my parents over in Japan, so I was looking after them. But I'm hoping to put out part 2 of a video. I went out. Dave will be familiar with this area, an area in Tokyo called Nakano Broadway. So I went out there and did a bit of shopping around, and I took my camera out there. So it's sort of a 2-part video. So part 1 came out about a month ago, and so I'm hoping to get part 2 out this weekend if I can get access to the technology off my daughter. It's always a bit of a battle to wrestle the technology off her so I can do my editing. So hopefully that comes out sooner rather than later. But I'm looking. It sounds like Dave is heading to Japan at some point in the near future. So that's very exciting news for me. Yeah, be great to meet up if we can, Dave.
Yeah, we'll try and do it. Yeah, because Nakano Broadway, I haven't been there for, I can say, about 3 years since the pandemic started. We were due to go about the week before the pandemic started, and all the flights got cancelled. So I'm really looking forward to getting back there because there's so many toys that I want to get. And I also hope that nothing much has changed. I'm sure in 3 years, things do change, but I hope there are lots of the places I like to go still around. So
there's still plenty there for sure.
Good.
And Zazel, what do you have coming up at the Slaughterhouse for us, my friend?
Well, I'll be going back and rewatching this one. I've been so awestruck with having the 2 legends who go and rebuild things that it's all starting to lose it out of my brain. I'll go back and rewatch it so I'm not just jabber-jawing. I will say, Dave, before we do finish and before I go talking about what I do on my channel, what you're able to do with just a can of WD-40 never gets lost on me. The last one I watched was you used on a Master of the Universe vehicle. You're like, I don't really want to pull it apart just yet. Let's just spray some WD-40 in there. And then in camera, it's like, all right, let's test it. And then bam, it springs open. And I thought that was a great victory.
Sometimes you get lucky. I think too often, like when you try and fix a toy, the first thing you do is try and break it open so you can see what's inside. And I'm not going to say every time, but quite often you can fix a toy from the outside if you'll sort of think about it. And that one was one, as soon as I got it, and I was like, yeah, we'll just give it a go. What's the worst that happens? The worst that happens is you get something full of WD-40. You know,
Right.
if a toy's already broken, you can't do any more to it. It's already broken. So, you know, it's, but yeah.
Well, I had a curiosity to wonder what was in there. Like if you had to do it, I was like, oh, I'm curious to see what's inside there. But as you said, if you start peeling away at the seam, you could do more damage to it. And so I was sitting there at the couch and you use the WD-40, you test the spring, it opens, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I think a lot of I've had a few messages from people saying, "I wish it didn't work," so that I ended up breaking it open. But I was quite like, "Oh, well, you know, it did the job. It did the job."
I celebrated your victory as well.
Yeah, and I hadn't had to ruin a toy because I've only got that one. Sometimes when I'm fixing toys, I'll have a couple, like a spare, you know, like one that I'm going to fix, and then one, if it goes wrong, I've got a spare. Well, that one, I only have that one. So if it broke, that's it. You know, there's no going back on it. But,
Dave, have you ever had the weird disappointment that sometimes I have when you buy an old janky toy that you assume is broken, you're going to be able to fix it, and you get it and it works, and you're like, oh, I guess it works.
Yeah, often
It's a disappointment.
I buy a lot. Yeah, I buy a lot of toys off eBay, thinking that they're going to be projects, and sometimes when they just turn up and it works, it's just like, oh, well, that means I've got to go and find another one now that is broken because I want to fix it. And like sometimes I bought things specifically to fix and then found another one the day later for half the price. I'm like, oh God, like, yeah. So yeah, no, if it turns up and it works, it's a disappointing day for me because the fun of a toy, the fun of a toy for me is fixing it because you get to learn more about it. So I'm sure there are not many people who like get upset when the toy isn't broken.
Well, a couple Mo Tuesdays ago, I was in a car accident on the way to the show.
Oh, no.
And yeah, I'm okay. The van's not, but I'm okay. And when we got hit, a Marshall Bravestar figure that was in my back seat flew up and hit the dashboard, and his leg broke off. And I was like, "Oh, I get to make a video for that now."
Yeah,
and it was a great video.
That's like sometimes I've been filming videos and I've broken a toy more during filming. And it's like, oh no, I think some people would be like, "Oh no, that's really frustrating," but for me, it's like, oh well, that's all right. It's just another thing I've got to try and work out to fix. So you have to look at life in a strange way, I guess, when you play with toys. You know,
the Retro Tinker also says that he's had that exact disappointment a few times, so he gets it.
Yeah, I think if you like this sort of thing, if you like the problem solving, I suppose, of this sort of hobby, then yeah, if it's not broken, it's not fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe that should be my tagline. Toy Polloi, if it's not broken, it's not fun.
It's not fun. That's what we've got.
Put a little quote there and say Gordon.
Yeah.
Quotations. All right, so I'll plug what we've got coming up on the Slaughterhouse. I realize it's taken a long way to get to that, but I mean, how often are you going to have Toy Polloi and Go Figure in the same stream? Like,
I feel weird when you can
maximize this.
You compare the two of us. I'm like, I'm in the shadows of Toy Polloi.
Well, you guys both work your magic, and anyone that watches either of your channels knows that there's a lot of creativity that goes into it, and it's never lost on me how simple that you can make something, knowing full well that it can take planning and it can take effort, and but and by me saying just being able to use a can of WD-40 on that video, obviously there were you did the clean restoration, you put the new stickers on there. There's a lot more that goes into it, but anyway, I'm rambling on about Toy Polloi and Go Figure again. So on Sergeant Slaughter's Slaughterhouse next weekend, with any luck, fingers crossed, it'll be incoming transmission with Space Commander and TJC, because the universes came together and those two were able to hang out. Your neck of the woods, Dave, in merry old England. I'm just assuming that's correct assumption. So there was a hangout there and plenty of photos. They went to the old Palatoy factory, and let's just say a special guest showed up, other than TJC and Space Commander. that had a linkage. A linkage, is that lineage? Linkage?
I think lineage
Connected to Action Force and Polloi and all of that sort of stuff. So if you read between the lines, you know who I'm talking about, but I don't want to give too much away. So hopefully next weekend for that. And then next Tuesday for another MOTUESDAY night, we're having Chris Miwa on the show to talk about his MOTU collection and his, what do they call it? It's cosplay. Check out his excellent Skeletor cosplay. So check that out one time, won't you? Coming up this weekend and then following Tuesday. Yeah. Anyway, I finally got there. Thanks, guys.
Well, very good. Well, thank you guys for a great. This has been, for me, it's a great way to start a Tuesday, and for guys that are elsewhere, it's a great way to end a Tuesday. And I think David's right in the middle of your Tuesday.
It is. I'm going to go and have some lunch in a minute.
Very good, guys. Thank you for being here, Dave. We can't thank you enough for coming and being a part of this. It's been a lot of fun, and for everybody watching, thank you for tuning in, and we will hope to see you on the next video. Have a great day.
Bye.